Welcome to the Needell household, where, as like most of you, I'm stuck for a while. I thought I might as well answer the question I get asked the most. It's a question I don't like, is what cars do you own? The trouble is, I always think the answer is going to disappoint everyone because there aren't a load of Lamborghinis and Ferraris chez Needell. In fact, though, I have been very fortunate, thanks to my job associations, to have a very long history of long-term loans for the past 20, 30, 40 years, starting with a Triumph TR7 when I first became a professional racing driver, courtesy of Unipart, a British lady who sponsored the team. So I started with TR7, then I had some Saabs, some Porsches, some Nissans, all sorts of cars, and a lot of BMWs. Right now, my daily wheels, courtesy of Hendy Performance in Southampton, is this rather wonderful Jaguar XF SPORTBRAKE. And this really is the sort of car I would buy if I had to. I'm an estate car fan. I'm not an SUV driver. They're not as rewarding to drive, I find. In fact, the closer my bum is to the ground, the happier I am. But what more can you want than this? Plenty of space in the back for all your gear. Petrol engine in the front, obviously. Rear-wheel drive at the back, obviously. A round steering wheel, all the comforts you could want. This is my sort of car. Got some snazzy rims as well. I mean, I'd love a barn full of exotica to play with, but unfortunately, the truth is, not all TV presenters are quite as successful as some others you might know. So, what do the Needells own? Well, let's start with this magnificent 2002 VAUXHALL CORSA 1.2 16 valve. This has been shared by my two sons, Harry and George, for the past 6 years. George is down in Brighton, actually doing some work for the NHS, not frontline. Whereas Harry's at home, still trying to find a job. Hi, Harry. Good job for us. He's the cameraman for the day. This little Corsa, we bought it for £1,000. After a couple of years, the engine in it dropped one of its 16 valves, so we went down to the scrapyard, got another engine for about 500 quid, had that stuck in, and ever since that it's run perfectly. We did, however, have to drill a hole in the footwell to let the water out where it gets in from somewhere, but that's not a big problem, is it? I actually took Harry and his mate down to the south of France last year. Perfect little car. In fact, it's so much fun, I borrow it occasionally just to get out on the roads to drive a little light front-wheel drive hot hatch with a lovely manual gearbox to play with. Perfect little car. Which leaves us with the family BMW X5. Bought in 2008, has now got 140,000 miles on the clock and still looks as good as new. Nice little straight 6 3-litre petrol engine in the front. I always thought it was a big shame when diesels were pushed upon us all that we lost the small engined SUVs, and if you wanted petrol you had to have a big V8 gas guzzler. Still 3-litre straight 6 is all you really want. Mrs. Needell, when she first got an SUV, we had a Jeep Cherokee back in the 1990s. She loved the old command driving position. We bought an ML Merc back in 2000, and then we had this in 2008. So in the last 20 years, we just owned 2 family cars. The thing about SUVs is not just that command driving position. It's great to have the 7-seat options, so you've got 3 boys, you've got parties, school runs. 7 seats of luxury that everybody wants. One thing that I didn't buy was the option. These cars, when they came out, it had an optional door trim, a treading pattern, aluminium, had big circles reflected in the doors. And funny enough, if you see one of those on the road now, it really does make them look very dated. So I'm actually delighted I didn't have the option, because it still looks as good as new. And Mrs. Needell's happy with it. Although when it does eventually go, she wants another SUV, because she does like that driving position. Only problems have been a couple of air damper bags had collapsed at the back. It sagged down, had to be replaced. It is beginning to have a small thirst for oil and wants the odd litre now and then, but I still think it's got another 2 or 3 years. Apart from that, nothing wrong apart from the BMW badge falling off the front. I mean, build quality BMW, please. Anyway, that's it. I hope the question has now been answered forever and will never be asked again.